Hey again, guys. So, yes, I'll tell you what you're seeing in a second. I almost forgot to do this one. I kept thinking it was next week's video because last week I showed you guys my pot toot instead of doing a video because last week I needed a little bit of energy in my life because fuck, last week was draining. But, yeah, we're on to episode 9. And, Tenchi kept saying I should, smoke my pipe in one of them, so that's why I'm outside. So if there's wind noise or kids noises, or the crows come in, magpies, or jays, any of the corvid, not COVID, corvid family, and make noise, I apologize. But, yeah, and I went with the long stem. This is a replaceable stem, short stem or long stem, and I like smoking the long stem because it cools the smoke when it gets in my mouth. Obviously, I do not say you should start smoking, but I also don't say you should do a bunch of shit. I'm fairly certain people don't listen to me, so. And before someone comments that I'm letting it go out, I always do that. First, kind of char almost, and then I light it afterwards. Does usually mean I go through quite a few matches, so. Oh, and the tobacco is from my local tobacconist called Burlington on White. And no, they don't sponsor any of my videos or anything. They don't even give me discounts, but they're a business. I don't have this big discounts. There we go. And no, that's not any special coffee. In fact, it's just dirty coffee flavored water. So. Today's video is just Renee smoking. Anyways, yeah, because I was thinking it was next week's episode, which I'm not gonna lie, I don't really remember because of some of the there's a bit of magical backlash from that one, let's just say, and so my memory's a little bit fuzzy on that one. So I actually do need my notes when I'm doing that one because I remember kind of everything up to a certain point and then everything after a certain point, but it was kind of like the epic middle apex that oh, and yes, this is tobacco. I do not smoke marijuana. Me and my little sister are actually allergic to it, so. But anyways, this one actually takes place not that far from here. Told you I go through a lot of matches. There we go. Now it's got a nice cherry on it. So, yeah, actually it's where I'm going after this. This is just a nice little break in between sharpening a new machete and going back out to work. So, and yes, Nikki and I are still working. We're not, I don't think you'd consider us frontliners, but we're essential employees, so. But yeah, so this one takes place out in St. Albert, which is a city that pretty much borders Edmonton. It's like one avenue across. And yes, we work out there right now. Well, hello, little guy. There's some peanuts in the way, so why don't you go underneath it? Yeah, there's still food for you, just move the peanuts. Yeah, yeah. There you go, good boy. Stonefinch. I love them because they're not afraid of me at all. really fucking fast. Anyways, yeah, so this, well, you know how I always tell you that there's a bunch of different types of Zeds. You know, you get some that are purely magical, you get some that are purely chemical, biological, you know, some are psychotic, some are drug-induced, Well, this one, sort of like someone turning a Zed into Zed. This one was a bit more chemical, but still kind of nasty. The crows are watching me from just up there. I have a family, a murder. I think it's 5 crows, and they usually nest in the same area for almost like 3 or 4 years. And so this is the parents and the 3 hatchlings from last year. And the parents last year were teaching the hatchlings kind of, you know, where to gather food and stuff like that. And of course, since I feed them, and that's a kite you're hearing, if you're hearing it. Okay, this one's going to be a bit more of an old man video where it just kind of puffs on his pipe and then tells you the next one. But it's windy, so I'm in my little corner. Anyways, I got a phone call and something was happening at a gym in St. Albert. Now, there's a bunch of gyms, but this one actually happened to be affiliated with a YouTube video through a trainer there. Yeah, I'm not going to mention the YouTube channel or the trainer. Trainer, because, well, he was part of the incident, and the YouTube channel, because I actually do respect the guy, even if I don't necessarily subscribe to his channel anymore. I actually do respect the fucker, so he's actually a decent guy, and his martial arts techniques are actually quite effective. They're very street smart, let's say. But oh, and well, I guess that actually has to do with this story too. No, we'll get there. But yeah, so St. Albert has a few gyms. It's kind of like Scottsdale. If Edmonton is Phoenix, St. Albert's like Scottsdale. It's more expensive, slightly more hoity-toity, all of that stuff. And what you get usually is people live in St. Albert and work in Edmonton. So, you know, you can sort of think of it as a bedroom community, but it's not really. Oh, and yes, I'm a pipe chewer. So these guys gave me little rubber tips for this. I know, bad habit. Show smoking, shut up. But yeah, anyways, I got a phone call that something was happening at one of the gyms out there. And that gym is no longer around, but it's not my fault. It closed due to Corona, and then it actually just went up for sale. It's sort of on the main drag when you go in. So if you know St. Albert, you know the one I'm talking about. But I got a call, and thankfully it's only about, oh yeah, 2 ways to St. Albert. You go up St. Albert Trail, which actually goes through downtown in the middle of the city, and you don't like that, and Groat Road, and it was under construction at the time for like 5 fucking years for a bridge that they fucked up too. They bent the girders on the bridge a little while back. Anyways, it's always under construction. But so I get the phone call and I have to go out there. And this is one of the few times that I didn't have the truck, because the truck had actually broken down, so it was getting repaired. No, that shit is not covered. They expect me to pay for it. So, whatever. Not a lot of stuff is covered, unless they have to fly me there and stuff like that, but even then, sometimes I get to fly in jets. Like, I think it was a Hornet. But, yeah, so, get out to St. Albert, and I'm at the gym, but I had to take my car. So I don't really have my loadout. I had no machetes or anything like that, because they don't really fit in the car. I've got an emergency, it's that off-grid axe thing. Well, hello, little one. It's the off-grid axe, but it's not a weapon, really. So I grabbed two of one of my favorites. And I grabbed them here so I can show you them. And yes, it's the Massey Longbore and the Shasta McNasty. And I told Rob that a couple of times I had to go around with Shasta strapped to my belt. And he was like, holy shit. Well, here's one of the times. And even though their reviews were actually quite a bit apart, I picked them up at about the same time because I really started getting into the Karambits then. And yeah, my wallet's full of them now, including quite a few I haven't shown. But, so I had Shasta on my belt and I had the Boar on the other side. I had a heavy leather jacket on just to cover them up, which is technically a felony here because it's concealed weapons. But I actually had my, license on me, and somebody asked to see it, so give me a sec. Sorry. Since you're in the corner, there was a nice close-up of my groin. Enjoy that, did you? Anyways, hidden my wallet behind my wallet, ninja. Ironically enough, the least weaponized anything. So, yeah, so that. And I actually have a sticker on my car. And you only know they're real when the numbers match. So, but yeah, that is literally my zombie hunting permit. Which looks totally fake to everyone. Only those really written in. And then you check the numbers and yeah, it's kind of funny. And yes, there was like 3 numbers on there because I am not the only one. I even trained a couple, and kids are running around. And you'll probably get to meet at least one of the guys I trained because he's my brother.
You can go, actually. You can go.
It doesn't necessarily run in the family, the zombie immunity, because he didn't die at all, so. But Dad was a healer and an elder for a little bit, so that's kind of why. Anyways, neither here nor there. But yeah, so I was out in St. Albert. I had my Karambits. I had a heavy leather jacket on just to kind of cover them up. And I went into the gym, and you know the smell of a gym, right? Like, it's a little different when you walk into just a weight gym versus a martial arts gym. The martial arts gym, you get that smell of like Tiger Balm and lidocaine and the really nasty oil that we all get from Thailand. It's got this little rhino on it. It works. It just stinks. I think most of it stink though. But this gym smelled like steel and sweat and, you know, BO and farts and stuff like that. It was just a regular old weight gym, but it was actually a fair size one. So, anyways, I go inside and the manager is there. And normally there's not people to meet me there. But apparently what had happened was this gym actually has like a front and a back. And in the back is where they've got like mats and stuff like that. And sometimes dudes will do like free weights and stuff like that back there. Or they'll book that room. Or the guys will do like, not the guys, but the gym will offer like Pilates. It's their special use room. But I guess this place used to be an old warehouse or something like that, because the wall to the back was actually cinder block, and you just kind of go through this set of doors, little metal doors stuck in the wall. Anyway, the manager, he tells me that some of his guys, by his guys I assumed he meant his patrons, had gotten kind of rowdy and everything, and so when they started to get out of hand, he had called the police, and the police had actually locked them up in this back room. And it was very faint, because the gym was fucking huge. Like, well, I don't know if you've ever been to a Good Life gym where they like take over an old retail space, but it's like the length of, you know, the half of the main floor of an old Sears kind of thing. It was like that long before the back, and all really nice gym equipment and everything, and some free weights over here, and some suspension shit over there, and the balance balls and all that shit. But anyways, just from the back, you could just hear this tiny little, like, I don't want to do that much louder, I'll scare my neighbors again. No, my neighbors love me. They actually do, believe it or not. They're the nicest people on the planet. But, and it's ironic, they stopped smoking right around the time I started smoking pipe again. But, you could just kind of hear this little thump, thump, thump. And I asked why the cops weren't there, and they said, well, they said, the manager said that, they said they were going to make a phone call. Now, St. Albert does have its own police force, but every once in a while the RCMP responds, so I think it was the RCMP rather than the cops. But, yeah, so anyways, this guy, the manager, hands me a key and says, they told me to give this to you, and I'm fucking out. And he boots it out the front door to his car, and I can hear him peeling away in the parking lot as I'm walking back. Now, chemically, there's a lot of things that could turn someone into a Zed, right? No, I'm talking strictly chemically, not biologically, not talking about a virus, not talking about a bacterial or fungal infection. I'm not even, touching on inherent instabilities in the brain or ingesting zombies like a Zed or Kudu, I think it's called. I'm not talking about any of that shit. I'm actually talking about straight up chemicals. So, like certain infections like rabies, or rabies-like viruses and bacteria can cause zombie-like symptoms, right? So you do get shit like curare will make someone look dead. There's a lot of paralytics that'll do the same thing. And those are just basically chemicals, right? But turning someone into dead and coming back, because like I said, I don't deal with living things. If this was like some dude out of his mind on meth or crack, PCP, something like that, I don't deal with that. I assist the officers if they ask, but I don't deal with that. I have a difficulty hurting humans. So, even in fights, I try to do as little harm as I can to living people, animals, all of that. Stress smoking there. Oh, the blend is called Valhalla Blend. I love it. A little expensive, it's $20 an ounce. So, so I do enjoy it. And, yeah. But chemically, all the symptoms are usually different. You can't really identify them at that moment in time, but you basically have to assume that either they're going to be the kind that keeps, like, the biology going, so like the heart pumping, lungs taking in air, all of that stuff, which is symptoms of life. As I can't even remember who the hell fucking said that, but somebody said they're symptoms of life, which is a great fucking way of putting it. Or whether they're like chemically moving, whether or not the chemicals are what are moving people around. And the easiest way to tell that is whether or not they're breathing, because the ones where the chemicals are moving them, that's, they're breathing, they have symptoms of life. I have no idea what he's saying, but anyways, so in this one, I had to check for symptoms of life with a door between us. So, seagulls are back. It's springtime, the seagulls are back. That one's named Steven Seagull. Deadpan. Anyways, what I had to do was basically open the door. Now, the door opened inward. A lot of doors in Canada open inward. I think it's because we have, insane snow and shit like that. And you can't open a door outward if the snow's blocking it. But, yeah, so I had to open the door inward with basically something pushing against it. Now, I know what it is now, and I don't want to spoil it, but something was pushing against it. And you can still hear the hammering. But what I realized was I could also hear the hammering on the wall, and it wasn't like there was a pattern of boom, 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 like someone really, really big is hammering way over here with his fist and then way over here with his fist. It was like, it sounded like there was at least 3 somethings in there, so there could be more, but I counted on a minimum of 3. And so what I did was I grabbed the fire extinguisher off the wall and cracked the door, shoved against it as hard as I could until I could get part of the fire extinguisher in there, and then I sprayed the, well, in this case it's a powdered fire retardant. I sprayed that and it just kind of went inside. You see. Sort of like that. I meant to do that as a much bigger cloud, but I need to blow slower. But yeah, anyways, you know what a fire extinguisher looks like. And that startled whatever it was just long enough for me to stick the bottom part of the fire extinguisher in there and just kind of peek my head through, and I could see 3 burly men, their faces just like flushed red, like they were doing heavy lifting all the time. So, you know, I kind of yell at them, you know, guys, trying to get their attention, something. Yeah, I got their attention. One of them grabs the door, rips it open, and comes through. Thankfully, like I said, big guys can't exactly all fit through the door at once. It was a little comedic, except the first one made it fucking through. The other 2, and yes, there were only 3, the other 2 coming behind it, the other 2 coming behind it. I say it at this point because he's not breathing, and it's got like wounds that are dripping blood, but not like it's basically showing no symptoms of life, and the blood looks thick and clotted. Its knuckles and everything are all bloody from bashing on the door, but it's still a huge burly something. It looked like he was maybe a 30-year-old man who had been bench pressing his entire life. Impressive physique. Bigger than young Arnold Schwarzenegger. Let's go with that. Like, take Arnold and Jesse the Body Ventura and merge them into one and then cut down by a quarter. Dude was like 300 pounds of muscle. It was really freaky. I'm almost out of tobacco. But, yeah, anyways, I took one step back and I drew the Shasta in my right hand and the bore in my left hand, and really wished I had a machete or 2. But since then, I can't carry a machete in my car because it's just illegal, and it's really hard to explain the shit in your car. When you're carrying it on you, you can actually talk to the officers once you disarm yourself. But when it's in your car, usually your car gets impounded. So I do not carry anything except the little survival axe and a pocket knife in my car, both of which have glass breakers, so they're actually, you know, for escaping in the car. There's a couple of tools I can use in the trunk and, you know, like a tire knocker, but that's about it. So if I go, I still have to have, you know, something on me. But anyways, wishing I had a machete, because this guy's fucking big. He comes charging forward. And my first thought is fucking 28 days later. And then like a rage zombie on me. Except those things were alive. Spattering blood and everything. Well, as I found out later, these 3 had gotten a batch of roids from a local supplier. That local supplier was then arrested by the RCMP. And no, it wasn't Zed that was getting into them. It was some weird-ass chemical, which then went to Department H. And I'm really hoping, but I can't confirm, but I'm really hoping Department H only kept a small sample and didn't try to replicate it. But DH is kind of, they're less sketchy than, you know, other places I've had to work. But anyways, big guy steps forward He reaches out his hands, and he's not fast. Like, he's powered by muscle, but he's not a fast zombie. He's not a slow zombie, like a shambler. But he rushes forward, arms outstretched. Now, normally, I just grab a wrist, pull forward, either put my foot out or put my knee into them or elbow them on the back of the head as they pass. Something along those lines. Swip the arm around, anything, right? To just get them out of the way, disarm them, subdue them, whatever. If it was a person. Not in this case. Not at all. Nice weather and the assholes are out there, loud cars. I have a big muffler and a tiny dick. But yeah, anyways, hopefully you can hear me, because I can hear the fucking kids and I can hear that car. Anyways, the dude comes forward, and I step to the side, and with the board in this hand, I go underneath the brachial artery, thinking, you know, maybe I can bleed this thing out. And its blood goops down, kind of like molasses, and I'm thinking, fuck, there's no bleeding these things out. But I went a little high, and I went through the brachial ligature, and so here kind of lost control. The arm was still mobile from the shoulder, limited, but like the hand and the arm couldn't really stay out anywhere. It kind of looked like one of those floppy snakes from when you were a kid. But yeah, so the guy reaches forward again with his other hand. Now I'm behind him, and I figure I'll go for the kidneys. Sorry about that. I just asked the kids to move down. So anyways, I'm behind the guy now, and I got Shasta in my right hand. And I decided to go for the kidneys because what the fuck, why not? Except I miss. I actually buried right into the spine. And I'm thinking, maybe. And I twist to Shasta. Well, if you've seen the review, you know I tried to break it, right? Get it into the spine, and I twist, and I get just enough leverage that the spine separated, and he fell. Now, that would have been fucking-tastic, except two more at the door. And they're still sort of stuck, like their IQs were gone, basically. I think they were just, well, you know, zeds. But I have to take them out. Now, that dude is still flopping around. He's able to drag himself with one arm, and he's got a lot of muscle, but thankfully I'm able to move a lot faster than him. So I just kind of scoot around him and head towards the door. And I think I'm going to be Billy Badass, and I put one boot into the smaller of the two. Yeah, no, they're wedged in the door pretty well. And the one boot, all it does is move the one guy back enough that the other guy can come through. So now I've got a big old roid zombie right here. Yeah, that didn't go well. So, basically I've got 285 pounds of muscle just bearing down on me. And I didn't even really think. And what I did was I took both karambits. I don't want to scare the kids, so I'm not pulling out the karambits. But I took both karambits and I buried them underneath the chin up into the soft palate. And Shasta was big enough that it actually tickled the brain just ahead of the amygdala. And the boar and Shasta buried in, I just went like that. And thankfully, that actually did enough damage to the brain that this thing dropped with both of my fucking karambits buried in its skull. The soft palate is soft, but it's still bone. And twisting them like this, I had gotten bone fragments and everything into them. So that was kind of unfortunate. But, yeah, so what I did, the third one starts shambling forward. I'm in a gym surrounded by weights and stuff like that. All I did was I ran over to the nearest one, and I picked up a 25-pound weight and realized it was going to make a shitty weapon, but I threw it at the guy. Just kind of the worst discus you could imagine. And it hit him in the chest. Didn't really do much, but then I saw nearby they had free weights, old style free weights. You remember you can buy them from like Canadian Tire and stuff like that, where you could put on the weights It was just a metal bar about this big. And, you know, it had a little thing in the middle, and you could put the weights on. I still actually have that bar from my set because I like using it after this. I kept it after this. Got rid of the weights, kept this. But what I had done was I took it off the shelf, and it had like 15 pounds on either side. And now you would think, smash, smash, smash. Nope, fuck that. Quick release off, get all the weights off, and I've got a metal bar. I trained first with batons before I started training with knives, so I'm actually not bad with them. I'm not, you know, scream-esque, but I'm not bad. He lunges forward, reaches for me. What the fuck is with these guys, right? Lunges forward, reaches for me. I smack the forearm to the side, and I've broken the bone here. And when I say broken the bone, I mean I've shattered the forearm, and it just kind of holds flat, and the bones are poking through it. It's fucking disgusting after the fact. I didn't even notice at the time. I stepped in towards him, and I got a freaking elbow to the side of the knee, which meant that the shot that was next, which was going to be smashing his fucking kneecaps, went wide. I spin around, and I end up behind this guy. He turns around and reaches for me with the other hand. Now, rather than just playing knock-a-door ginger with this guy's head, I stepped in and finally hit him on the hip. And the hip shatters. Now, when you got the hip broken just above, you know, where the leg attaches to it, the leg flops out. Like, with most people, it'd be pain and stuff like that stopping them, but this thing kind of just toppled to the side. In the meantime, something grabs my fucking ankle. And it's the first guy. I'm out of tobacco. Why am I chewing on this? Whatever. Fine. It's the first fucker. So I bring the baton down on his head, and I end it. I turn to the third guy. I do the same thing. Now, it was a gym, and I had a fucking workout. But I grabbed my karambits. I grabbed the little bar. I put them off to the side. I go into the back room with a big bar at this point, and I double check there's no one else in there. Call my contacts from my cell, right? My contact phone. And I request cleanup. And then I just sat there and waited. Thankfully, they actually had a Keurig machine that was kind of fully stocked and everything. So I sat there with, you know, some decent cups of coffee. But yeah.
Up to there?
It was kind of nice. And, yeah. You know, ended up getting a hell of a workout. Proved that my karambits were badass, which were really, really nice, you know. They weren't even nicked. But yeah, that was about it. Anyways, you know, I would say come visit St. Albert, but truthfully, come visit Edmonton when everything's open, Westonton Mall and all that stuff. And then you can just go north here to St. Albert and have some fun. But yeah, anyways, Canada's great, except for the zombies.